Welcome back to the Centered in the City podcast. I'm your host, Wade Brill, and I am so glad you are here. On today's solo episode, we're going to talk about the various ways we can navigate the holidays, feeling our best, but specifically letting go of those pesky holiday expectations that can be the Grinches of our holiday season. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about how mindfulness can help us manage the pressure of the holiday seasons, what it can look like to set boundaries for yourself, for others, around time, around space, around gift giving. And I'd say most importantly, learn how to set intentions instead of expectations. So let's settle in to this episode, grab something warm and cozy, and let's get centered. As we arrive to this conversation around the holidays, I welcome you to just pause wherever you are. Eyes can stay open or closed, and check in with yourself. Notice, what is your internal body communicating to you as you think about the holiday season? Is it full of joy and warmth? Do you notice maybe some like sparkly sensation? Is there childlike energy pulsating through you? Is there a feeling of dread or knots in the stomach or nausea? Maybe for you, the heart feels really tender. There's maybe a lot of grief or loneliness, or there's a yearning, a wishing for something, or a big hole for what was or what could have been. And so, just wherever you are in this moment, just gently and lovingly noting what's here, not making it right, wrong, good, or bad, not needing to judge your experience. Maybe even just saying to yourself, right now it's like this. Maybe later it turns into something else. Maybe last week it was a different feeling. And if you close your eyes, opening your eyes and coming back to this moment, and I just want to name how whatever you are feeling, you are not alone, and how the holidays really are this mixed bag for everybody. It's full of joy, it's full of excitement, it's full of anticipation. It can also be full of overwhelm and stress, and some maybe good stress, and some maybe dread and grief, loneliness, jealousy, envy, right? So, all of these emotions are so normal and valid, and taking a moment to just check in with yourself, because how you feel in this moment or this holiday season might be really different than how you feel in the past around the holidays. And bringing awareness to our present moment experience, practicing mindfulness gives us information. That's one of the biggest gifts. That's why I call myself a mindfulness coach, because when we tune into ourselves and bring awareness to what's here, we gain information. And when we have information, that's where we have the wisdom and the insights then to take action, to take intentional action versus reactive or habitual action or autopilot action. One of the things I work on with my clients when we're focusing on navigating specifically stressful events or circumstances or time periods in someone's life, i.e., the holidays, it's all about setting our intentions. Like when we enter these chapters, especially when life can get so noisy with so much going on, we need to set our intentions. And intentions, for those that haven't heard this word before, intentions are setting our mindset. They're helping us think about how do we want to be showing up and feeling and being no matter what is happening in the circumstance. Setting intentions isn't about creating goals, because it's not very specific. Like I'm going to, give 3 gifts to a stranger, that's a little bit more of a goal. Setting intentions is more about these feeling tones and mindsets that we can hold. So, for instance, I want to feel joyful and present this holiday season. I want to feel hydrated and nourished. Whatever it might be, that is an intention. Intentions help prime the mind. They're not just these woo-y things. Intentions help prime our mind so that we know where we want to be putting our attention, so that we're not getting distracted again by all of the noise and all of the things that are happening in life. So, today we're going to talk about 7 different practices that we can hold to help us navigate the holiday with more ease, feeling our best, and managing those expectations that can be these life suckers of the party that can take us on these emotional rides where we feel really disconnected from our intentions and from our higher sense of self. So, this first practice, you guessed it, is to set your intentions. Like, pause wherever you are, pause this podcast, grab a journal, grab the notes section of your phone, and take a moment to think about how do you want to feel as you navigate this holiday season. Really think about how you want to show up and feel, knowing that this holiday season, again, might be different from the past holiday seasons, different circumstances, maybe different location, you're celebrating with different people. How do you want to feel and be? Write down your intentions. And I want you to look at those intentions like every day or at least a few times a week and really hold that intention with you this month, because that is going to be the anchor that is going to help you navigate this season with more ease, with more connection, with more inner alignment. Now, when we set our intentions, what's really important is that, again, that's what we're putting our focus on. And when we continue to train our attention to be on our intention, we aren't then worrying about the expectations of other people. We're not getting caught up in our expectations of other people, of their expectations of us. We're really focused on how we want to be feeling. And this is so important because this is really the only thing that we can control in life, is how we individually show up, how we respond, how we take responsibility for our actions, for our words, for each step that we take. This brings us to our second practice, which is to practice radical acceptance. To practice this idea, this concept, which can be really challenging for a lot of us. I will say that the practice of acceptance is something I'm always working on because my mind loves to control. It loves to have what I want. And yet there's so much energy I lose when I am not accepting something. When I resist the present moment reality, I am wasting energy. I am thinking about some sort of story in my mind. But acceptance is this ability for us to set ourselves free when we accept the present moment, whatever's happening. Maybe somebody canceled plans. Maybe somebody in the family has like an insane request or is being really difficult about logistics. Or maybe somebody got sick, or maybe a party got canceled. Whatever it is, the holidays might and probably won't look like and feel like what you think they might be in your mind, right? That expectation. So when we are in the present moment, practicing accepting with what is here, like, okay, these are the facts. The party is canceled. We have no plans tonight. How do we want to pivot? Versus spending a lot of energy, maybe resisting, trying to fix it, trying to recalibrate. It's just like, let it go, people, let's move on. And when I say this with love and kindness because with the loss of plans, with the change that might happen, with those failed expectations, there is some form of grief or there's some form of sadness or anger. whatever emotion is there. And I don't want to diminish that that's there, because that's not very mindful, right? We want to be mindful of our emotions. And I think connecting us back to our intention here can be really helpful, so that we're not getting hijacked by the emotion that's arising amid the failed expectation. We're coming back to this place of accepting what's here. Okay, this party got canceled. This person isn't coming anymore. I didn't get the present I wanted. This family member disappointed me. I spent way too much money than I wanted to. Whatever it is, right? When we accept it, we ground ourselves in reality. And once we're back in the present moment in reality, that's where we have more freedom to choose the next move, choose that next way that we want to respond. And hopefully we're coming back to our intention, right? It all kind of comes back here. A little side story, I think I've shared this before, and I don't remember if it's been on the podcast or in my newsletters, but I used to have a really hard time receiving gifts, because my mind would create these expectations that I would get these whatever gifts. I don't even know if I had like specific things in mind that I wanted. I think I just created this sort of puffed up vision in my mind. And when I wouldn't get those gifts, I just remember feeling full of disappointment and anger. And I would spiral down, and it would pull me out of the joy of celebrating, the joy of what the holiday really is about, right? Connection and family or friends, or that sense of warmth or love, not really about the fucking present. And yet, that's what my mind got hooked on. And I would spend so much energy, wasted energy, being like, in the stories of, oh, I wish he did this, or I wish they did this, and I wish I got this. And again, fighting with reality. And it was like, why is it important for me to say, I wish they did this? And what really, after, years of watching this behavior and understanding, it was like, oh, I wasn't being honest. I wasn't communicating my true needs in that moment. And so I was actually getting disappointed with this expectation in my mind. But to be honest, it's because of a lack of communication on my end than on the giver's end. And this leads me to my next practice for us, which is communicate. Communicate clearly and kindly. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the people around you. Because if we are not honest with ourselves and with others, it will come back to bite us in the butt. So be honest about what you want this holiday season. Like for me, that was really hard for many years. I was like, well, if somebody's giving me a gift, I shouldn't tell them what I want. They should just give me what they want to give me. But that thought pattern wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful for me. It wasn't helpful for them. The pressure that it put on them. So be honest. Be honest about what you want from a gift perspective, what your needs are this holiday season. Like have those proactive conversations as much as you can. I know it can sometimes feel emotionally exhausting or burdensome, but it can backfire if you don't have those, because it can be filled with assumptions. So ask your partner, ask your family members, your kids, whoever you coordinate for family holiday gatherings. What are your needs this holiday season? What are your wants? What do you want to be prioritizing? And ask yourself those questions too. Like, let yourself be as honest. Maybe it's like, you know what? I love the holiday season. And if I'm being really honest, I have low capacity this holiday season. So I'm personally going to not be attending as many holiday parties as we get invited to. And that is part of also setting boundaries. When you know what your needs and your wants are, that's where you can start to clearly, hopefully, communicate them to other people and set those boundaries. Maybe it's hey, you know what? I love your family and I'm only going to be able to spend one night at your parents' house for Christmas instead of 3 nights like we normally do. Or maybe you hear from a family member that they don't have the capacity to host this year, and maybe you feel like you do, and you take that baton and share that responsibility, clearly communicating as much as you can proactively is just so important to help create those clearer guidelines so that everybody can hopefully navigate the holidays with a little bit more ease. The fourth practice here is to stay present. So, as much as you are going to plan, as much as you're going to organize, as much logistics are going to be figured out and things are going to feel settled, life is going to life. It's going to do its thing and shit's going to go awry and things are not going to go as planned. And that is something you can lean on. And because of that, it is so important to be as present through this holiday season as you can. This takes us back to our second practice of acceptance, right? To accept what is here, be in the present moment, and see if you can let go of the thoughts that are going to be all about the shiny shoulds, like, oh, I should be doing this and I should decorate the house like this. And oh, well, what if I do this? And what if I didn't do this? And when we start to just spiral out in all of these different thoughts of the future or what could be, it takes us out of the present. And we really lose connection to our intention. We really lose connection to how we want to be feeling and navigating. So come back to the present as much as you can. And you can do that in formal ways, like having a meditation practice that trains the mind, that trains the attention to be in the present moment. That could be practicing mindfulness in these informal ways, like just slowing down maybe every few hours to take a couple conscious breaths. I have a friend who has a timer set 3 times a day to take 3 deep breaths. So, whatever strategy helps you anchor in and get present, maybe it's you slow down every time you take a sip of your cup of coffee or every time you wash your hands after using the bathroom. Think about those ways that you can just come back to the present moment. And if you want more tools and practices, head on over to centeredinthecity.com, go to the navigation section and click centered space. And in that place, you have over 200 different holistic mindfulness-based practices that you can use, guided meditations, movement practices, all there, all designed to support you feeling more present. This theme has been coming up in a bunch of conversations with friends and clients around this fifth practice, which is to challenge traditions. And I know some of you who hear that might be like, what? No, I couldn't. How dare I? Traditions are traditions for a reason. And sometimes we do things without even realizing it. What I mentioned earlier, this like autopilot, habitual place that don't really serve us. We just do them because it's what other people are doing, it's what's assumed of us, it's just like the time of year, this is the time of year where you drink a lot. This is a time of year where you have permission to not pay attention to what you eat. Like this is, whatever, again, the storyline is. Yet challenging traditions, challenging and really getting curious about why are we doing the things that we're doing is important. My husband and I don't have kids, and for the last years, being a married couple in a family system where there are kids and noticing like, what are these traditions that we want to hold as an individual family unit, as a greater family unit? What does that get to look like? What serves us as individuals in the collective, in this greater collective? So having these conversations, so going back to our fourth practice, right, of having these clear, honest conversations is so important because it helps us really get clear on why are we doing the things that we're doing? Why are these holiday traditions important to us? Again, just because we've done them in the past doesn't mean we have to keep doing them. And I hope by me repeating that a bunch, you feel that permission to create the holidays how you and your family want to create them. This might bring up in the relationship or with the family system, there might be some conflicting ways of celebration. There might be different insights on what the holidays really mean or what traditions feel really special or meaningful. And learning to collaborate and create space for what's important for both parties or for the whole family is important. There's not one person's opinion that means more, but we don't know what's important until we have these conversations, until we get curious with one another, until we challenge why are we doing the things that we're doing. There's that saying like insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, thinking that you're going to get different results. So, really taking a moment to zoom out, and maybe you've got great results in the past, but maybe you're tuning in and noticing, right now, having this kind of party that we normally host isn't really helpful, or spending this much money on gifts and tangible things isn't really our value system anymore. So we get to check in. And if you notice that you're really holding on to something, like you really love the cookie making that you do with your family sometime in December, get curious about why. Like, why is that so nostalgic and important for you as a tradition? Is it because you love to make the cookies? Is it because you love the feeling of the house being warm from the oven on and the smell? Is it the time that people are together and it's playful? Like, whatever comes up for you, just get curious and own your why. Understanding your why helps not only you, but the people around you understand the motivation, why it's being prioritized, why it really matters. This leads me into our sixth practice, which is all about simplifying. Like, where can you keep things simple? Life is complicated enough. Where can you simplify? Does that mean ordering in food from a place instead of cooking? Does that mean getting a whole bunch of friends together and asking everybody to bring a dish instead of feeling this need to cook for everybody? Is that by saying you're only choosing one holiday party you want to go to this year? Or this is the budget you want to stay in? Ask yourself what truly matters to you, right? This goes back to the intention setting. This goes back to this ability of getting clear. This goes back to your honesty. This goes back to you challenging traditions. When you do all of that stuff, you're collecting some data and you're boiling the holiday season into what really matters. Does the food really matter? Sometimes I have to ask myself that. As a foodie, I'm always like, yeah, that food effing matters. But does it really matter? Or is it more about being with family or friends? Or is it really about sharing those core memories or creating core memories? What truly matters? And can you simplify your mindset to focus on that instead of getting wrapped up into the perfectionism or the shininess of how the holidays need to look and feel? When I say simplify, that doesn't mean like take the cushion out, like take all the fluff out. Like, no, you have permission to have as much of what brings you joy in this holiday season as possible. And I really want to emphasize that. It's just about being clear and intentional with what brings you joy. So simplify your life to just focus on what is really meaningful to you about this holiday season. Emphasize that joy. Come back to your intention, what's going to support your intention coming alive. so that you can let that be the focus of the holiday season, not everything else, and not filling your plate with extra and excess that actually doesn't matter to you, that doesn't hold weight, that ends up just feeling like more busyness that creates the overwhelm than actual, that deep sense of resonance. The seventh practice here is to practice self compassion. And what I mean by this is to practice care, to treat yourself with kindness, to remind yourself to talk to yourself like you would to your best friend. So, really watch that negative or judgmental or aggressive attitude that you can so easily give to yourself, and know that you're not alone in it. Everybody has some form of critical self talk, and see how kind and caring you can be. And practice mindfulness. So notice, just like we did at the beginning of this episode, tuning in to, what do you feel in this moment? What are your thoughts? What are you doing? When you gain mindful awareness of what's happening in the present moment, you can then meet yourself there. So maybe you're at your office holiday party and you just feel really kind of overwhelmed and tired of seeing your coworkers. Notice how that feels in your body and take yourself outside. Take a couple of deep breaths in the fresh air. Leave that holiday party, right? Take breaks. If you get really triggered by your sister-in-law, what does that look like to nurture yourself in that moment? If somebody in your family is drinking and that is really triggering to you, maybe that's an insight that it's time to leave and go home, or time to go back to your hotel or go to your room. So take care of yourself, and only you can really know those needs of what's happening internally. You can only monitor what you need, and then learning how to communicate those needs, if you need some support from other people, is part of the dance as well. So letting all of these practices and insights and tips of how we can navigate the holiday with more ease, more intention, instead of this expectation. What's landing with you in this moment? Which out of the seven do you feel like you want to practice right now? Is it setting your intention? Is it practicing acceptance? Is it learning to communicate and really be honest with yourself and with others? Is it practicing being present, challenging traditions, simplifying, self compassion? So think of these all as gifts. And if you were reaching into a bag, which one do you want to pull out right now? Which one do you want to be practicing, holding closer to your heart than maybe the others? For me, what comes alive is really practicing self-compassion. The holidays are not my favorites. I love a lot of things about the holidays, but when we hit December, it is really hard still navigating without my mom here, even after 14 and a half years. And life looks and feels different than I want it to. And so just being with myself in that tenderness is so important. It's where I get to give permission for those emotions to be here instead of pushing them away or shoving them down. And the more that I can just hold this with a lot of care, the less intense I feel the emotion is in my life. And the more I feel free to be present. If you're wanting some more healthy for the holiday tools, in the show notes, I have linked to a downloadable I've created for my community. It's completely free. Grab hold of it, print it out, have it somewhere visible where you can tune into it if you're just looking for some kind of quick insights and other mindset practices that you can use to navigate the holidays. Also, if you are somebody who is already starting to be in that reflective and intentional space of exploring 2024 and thinking about what's next in the new year, I welcome you to sign up for the intention setting party. It is one of my favorite workshops to host. I've been doing it for, I think, over 7 years by now. And it is an amazing experience where you have this space and permission to reflect on the year, to learn about yourself. And then we get to dreamstorm what 2025 gets to look like. And what everybody's favorite part is we create what I call your power intention. So it's a word, a theme for the year that gets to be this guiding light to support you setting your intentions. Just like we did for the holidays, you get to think about how can you set your intentions for 2025. So check it out. It's in the show notes. There's a discounted rate only for a few more weeks, so take advantage. And I look forward to seeing you there and hearing about how this episode is resonating for you. Feel free to join me on Instagram. Let me know, send me a message. I love hearing from you. You can also write me an email, also linked in the show notes. And until next time, stay centered.